Hi, welcome back to Quat Pod. Howie Yates talking again. I'd just like to say thanks very much, as I always do, for the person that last came on, John Delve. Great interview, a real historic one there. FA Cup quarter finalist, former manager, former captain, former player. What a guy, and absolutely delighted that he's still around the club. Moving forward, just got back from Sheffield Wednesday yesterday. A few nice things happened there. Firstly, a great reception for Cam Dawson. Really appreciate that. I finally get to meet and have a photo taken with Dave Earle. We shook hands, said hello. From one of the other podcasts around Exeter. Always good to meet people in the community. And we had a good little chat. So nice to see you up there. Sheffield Wednesday, interesting place. I think it took an hour to get out of the city. We definitely won't be parking where we were this time round. But for the minute, this next show, we've got a fan this time. Quite a marathon man. And I'll leave you to enjoy him on Quat Pod. Enjoy. Hi, and welcome back to Quat Pod. I'm not going to do episode numbers because if you spotted the Yates is a mistake from the last one that I did, it wasn't episode 14, it was episode 16. And that I just got confused because of when we did recordings. Now, when we get onto the subject of recordings, I'm not going to identify this person yet, but it was going to be, I think, episode 3, right? Because I've got it recorded on my indexing about how I do stuff. I think we're at episode 16 or 17 now. So there's a bit of a long story how we've got to him. But right, so a little bit of I'm no Wikipedia on this because it doesn't do Wikipedia and it's just not on there. This is a fan of the club, right? He's from a crazy family of away fans, right? He is the owner and he's also a corporate sponsor at Exeter City. He's the owner of the best Volkswagen dub repair business in the Southwest. I've probably got that wrong. If you've got any form of car, you need it repaired, you break down near Launceston. If you haven't worked out who this petrol head is, right, because we will talk about his petrol head, it is Mr. Marathon Man and super fan, Phil Miller. How are you, Phil?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Al, how are you?
I'm good. And I just want everybody to know that this is an audio, but he's presently, I think, in the top office in his garage, right, in oily overalls, and he's looking like and he's having a bit of a vape like people know that he does on a Friday morning talking to me. So the reason why we got him on here, right, is he is Mr. Marathon Man. I think he did 50 games. He's probably going to correct me in these.
It was 63 games in one season, 63 first team games. And I went to Birmingham Brentford on a Tuesday night to watch Ollie Watkins score twice for Brentford.
As you do. So, yeah. I deliberately went low because I knew that you'd go a lot higher than that. Because it's like any footballer, he is super competitive. So he's done 64 matches in a season. He doesn't live in Exeter. He lives further south from Exeter, right, which is even more incredible, right? I'm going to ask him first, as we always ask the fans, right? What was your playing style? Where did you play in kids football? Were you in the school team? Who did you model yourself on?
I wasn't actually. My older brother Rob and Chris, sublime footballers, really good. The football gene missed me out. I had 5 left feet, and none of them were any good. Played in goal for a Sunday league team in Chagford growing up. But I always dreamed of being Darren Rowbottom's partner, scoring the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
on. In 89, 90, when we won the league, I'd have been like 12 and a half, 13. Right. Darren Rowbottom was brilliant, as we all know. I did also write a biography of Danny Bailey at school for GCSE, and detailed, he was captain at the time that I wrote it. Wrote a really elegant piece about him, and my history teacher in front of the whole class told me that Danny Bailey has not contributed anything to the history of the UK. And I corrected him. I said he has. He was part of the team that got out of fourth division. And I think I got a D for that in history in GCSE, which is wrong. Hey,
have you still got a copy of that? Because obviously, following the charity evening with Danny Bailey, I'm sure he'd love to see a copy of that.
I'm sure Mama's somewhere. It's probably up in the loft. I'll ask her when I see her. But he's so idol. Darren Rowbottom, definitely. Danny Bailey. It was. I'm sure it was Port Vale away in. Was it the Auto? Port Vale at home, the Auto windscreen shield. Danny Bailey was great that night. And we should have won it. We should have gone to Wembley then, instead of waiting until 2007. But good memories from 30 years ago. Yeah, it is 30 years ago now. No,
I know, time's flying.
30 years ago, yeah.
Best not to talk about that sort of age of stuff. It just depresses you. Trust me. Right. So we're gonna go through your thinking pre-season in 2017-18 season. Did you decide to try and get to every game, and why?
Well, originally, so my younger brother Ian, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this, but Ian is probably my best friend. We fight like cat and dog. We argue, but he's my best friend. But we're competitive, and quite often we count up the number of away games we've done from clubs in the Football League.
Yeah.
He's always been miles and miles ahead of me. And I'm still miles behind him. But I kind of decided that I was going to try and go to grounds that I'd never been to before. And watching Exeter City home and away is a bit like going into a casino. You either get hooked and you can't stop, or you kind of enjoy it, but you don't do it all the time. And it's a bug. I've made some of the best friends you could hope for at away grounds. People that you don't see at home, but you see at away games. I met you on the way to Swansea in 1997. You were driving a Peugeot 406, I believe.
Yes.
Down the M4, and you were letting balloons out the sunroof, and that was how I met you. And see what I mean? I don't know what it is about our club, but it's a really great bunch that go away. And I just decided that I was going to go to grounds I'd not been to before, and before I knew it, I was going to every game.
Okay, can I just thank you for sharing that memory of Swansea? I don't know what was going on that day, but yes, you are probably quite right. I think I was in the car. I was driving. I was hands-free at the time as well.
Yeah.
So thank you. So unbelievable. Right. So pre-season friendlies. Where you must have gone to Cornwall or somewhere, did you?
Yeah, I believe we had. It was Truro, I believe. I think we had Truro that year, and me and Ian went down there. Truro had a really strong side. Can't remember what the score was. The cider wasn't particularly good. And it just kind of went from there. I think the turning point that season was I'd agreed to run the Exeter Marathon, Southwest Marathon.
Right.
I arranged that in Cambridge the season before, and I realised the day before. But the day before, I drove to Carlisle.
Before a marathon, you were sat in a car all the way to Carlisle.
I don't think I'd put running trainers or shorts on in probably 15 years.
Really?
And so the going back to the season before at Carlisle, we'd gone up there, we were second from bottom. How we lost that game 3-2, I don't know. I really don't know. And we all remember how that season ended. Well,
yeah.
Go to Carlisle. I'd never seen us get anything at Carlisle, and it was. I drove to Carlisle on the Saturday and got back.
You on your own or group?
No, I went with Russell Terry, Simon Arthur, and his son. Right. And I'd driven. I'd overslept, so I didn't leave Tavi until 7 o'clock, and I was meant to be in Exeter at 6:30. We still got Carlisle with plenty of time. We won the game 1-0, and then I'd agreed to drop Ryan Whitt back to Honiton, and on the way back, I got a text message from a friend of mine, Gary, who's an Exeter fan, reminding me that I was meeting him at his house at 6:30 the following morning, because the marathon was the following day.
Yeah.
And
you ended up doing that marathon. My God.
I raised not a huge amount, but I raised 145 quid for the Adam Stansfield Foundation.
Did you really?
Yeah, I've still got the certificate, and it's framed and hung pride of place in our front of house, in the front of the work, or in the office downstairs.
Brilliant. So, you've done Truro, you've done Carlisle, you're starting to show tendencies of crazy driving, and it wasn't that season. For the benefit of the audio, you have picked me up from a lay-by near Wolverhampton somewhere. I can't even remember. I can't remember what game we were going to.
That was it was either Port Vale in 2018, or it was Crewe when Jaden Stockley. And how we were 1-0 down with like 3 minutes to go, and we win the game 2-1. It was absolutely brilliant.
And can I just say, that's one of my most famous and happiest moments, because I was front page of the paper, actually, with Jaden. And even work colleagues saw that, which was quite funny. So let's get back to that season, right? So I'm going to pick out a few games, right? We've got, you were actually bonkers. I've looked at it and about what's travelled. But there were games like, for the benefit of City fans, Cheltenham away, 4-3. Yeah. We went 2-0 down, didn't we?
Yeah.
Loads of City fans there.
I had a text message as the second goal went in from a good friend of mine saying, well, that's that done, get in the car and drive home. And the second goal went in, and the away end was like the Mary Celeste. It was just dead silent. And Jordan Moore-Taylor called the whole team into like a circle, and you could see he was going off his head. And then almost immediately after that, it was almost like a light switch had been flicked. And we'd gone from not being able to even pick out a player to passing the ball like we know we can. And, in recent times to then, getting something at Cheltenham wasn't unheard of. You don't, rare to be 2-0 down at somewhere like Cheltenham. And a little bit of belief that we were a quality side. It was sunny. When the fourth goal went in, I ended up about 3 rows further down on my back. It just went mental.
It wasn't just the final goal, though. We went 4-2 up, didn't we? And there was a free kick from Jordan Moore-Taylor at the opposite end. So what I would really like to know about that game is, did you send a text message to your mate saying, I'm just leaving now, on my way home with 3 points in the boot?
No, he messaged me saying, we're going to lose this, just as well go home now, or something like that. And I was umming and ahhing, and I thought, do you know what? Nah, not a chance. Because when you see that sort of dedication from, a young lad, captain, local lad, and he was fuming. He was absolutely going off his head. And they kept their calm, and they played as they knew they could. And, it was it was worthwhile staying. I know a lot of people did leave, and I don't, you know, we were the first, well, up to going 2-0 down. We were awful, second to everything.
And you talk about that season, right? I've looked through and there's quite a few games that stick out, but I want to move to nearer the end of the season. So, but before we do, I'm going to just make an observation. We won 4-1 against Morecambe at home. Brett Huxtable, the famous referee, was there. And, and for the benefit of City fans, because we like our attendances, there was only 3,651 City fans there, you know, and that was in a year that we ended up getting to the playoffs. Following on from that, we lost 4-1 at home a little bit later to Luton.
Yes.
Right? But there was only 4,200 there, and Luton would have brought some. But can you remember anything about that game particularly? Because they must all blur in, mustn't they?
Good point. I mean, the Luton game, it was so the Morecambe game was really weird because the night before the game, I think it was the Royal Clarence burnt down.
So it did.
And I was admin on a City Argyle banter page, and I spent most of the journey to Morecambe. There's another bit to the story about going up, but I spent most of the journey up deleting Plymouth fans from that page because they were just being horrific. But so that day against Morecambe, myself and my brother Ian had gone, and we'd stopped in at Crewe to pick my older brother Chris up.
Yeah.
And the plan was we pick Chris up, we go to the game, we have a couple of scoops before the game, and then we were staying in Crewe that night, or just outside Crewe where Chris lives. And we got to Crewe, and we got to Chris's house, and Chris wasn't well and he couldn't go. So me and Ian carried on up the M6 to Morecambe. We watched the game, and obviously a great game. I went live on Facebook, and the stewards didn't have an issue until our third goal went in, and then they stood in front of me, wouldn't let me go Facebook live. Like a bit of banter with the stewards. But on the way home, we decided to still stay at Chris's. Chris still wasn't well, so we went down to his local supporters club, sports bar, social club. And Chris, to this day, still remembers it. Cheap beer, obviously, but also the chip shop next door bought in a load of chips that they hadn't sold. So we had free fish and chips.
Free fish and chips?
Yeah, free fish and chips.
It's got to be said that if you go to Crewe by the ground, a little advert for the fish and chip shop by the away end, it is absolutely one of the top-notch ones. And it's even close to Grimsby, and probably third only to Grimsby and Fleetwood. I'm looking forward to Fleetwood tomorrow. So you had free chips, yeah?
Yeah, we had free chips. And then Chris still remembers that. He's still gutted about that. Couple of Crewe fans in there that night. We had a bit of banter, a bit of chat with them. So with the away days, Saturdays became all about football. And you know, you said about the Luton game when we lost 4-1. I think the way that Exeter played that year, or predominantly under Paul Tisdale, we had the ability to score for fun, but we also had the ability to concede heavily if it wasn't our day. You know, which we've had seasons where we weren't scoring goals and we were losing 1-0 or not having shots on target. But that season, the 17-18 season, and I think it kind of started in at Carlisle away. When we lost 3-2 the season before, I think it was more about trying to play nice passing football and see where we got, which was hard to watch sometimes, but when it worked, it was really good. But yeah, it was.
And you say that, right? going to pick out a few other games just so people can pitch the season, and we're going to go on to near the end of the season because it gets a bit tasty. We had a good cup run. We beat Heybridge Swifts 3-1, and we were lucky that it was shall we say, a lower tier team. And no disrespect to them, because I thought they were really good on the day. Their fans were amazing when they turned up. That's one of the things I really remember. We then beat Forest Green 2-1, I think.
Yeah.
And then we were playing West Brom, and we only the Adam Stansfield stand was not built yet.
No.
And I think we lost 2-0 to West Brom.
Yeah, we did.
And we didn't. We did all the hard work, but didn't really. They didn't give us a sniff, did they, that day?
No, I mean it was one of those games. The atmosphere on the bank was bouncing. It was a great atmosphere, and even when we were 2-0 down, there was still that belief. We'd earned a bit of money. We were doing well in the league, really. But it's sometimes with the beauty with the FA Cup is when you get to the third round and you get a club, any big club, it's about not embarrassing yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the West Brom game, in parts we played some really good football, and it was just that final third, as they say, where we just lacked a little bit of composure, not quality, because we had the quality. But yeah, it's unlucky. But there are some days you can have a great day out, spoilt by 90 minutes of football.
Yeah.
But the West Brom game, it was a great game, a great advert for our club. And
remembering back, the display was excellent, wasn't it? There was a big display that day.
Definitely, because the Doble stand and the Big Bank had displays, and that was really good. But it's really weird. It's like there lots of things about the 17-18 season that you look back on, and some with great memories, and some sort of like think, oh, we were awful that day. But the West Brom game, I'm proud of what the club done. And it's just a shame, football's fine margins, and ifs, and what ifs. And I think that day we were just the wrong side of the fine margins. And if only that pass had been a little bit harder or a little bit softer, or if only the ref hadn't, or the linesman hadn't given offside then, because it was debatable.
And looking to the towards the end of the season, we actually had quite a good run.
Yeah.
Right? And I've had it down, and I'm going to talk about a particular game. You say about fine margins and frustrations, and we're going to talk about the fans' expectation in a minute, and also the thoughts of the manager. Because at the time, Mr. Tisdale Paul had been with us for quite a few years. We've had some interesting ones, and we were getting close. We were knocking on the door, but we haven't quite done it. So I'm going to take you, and by the time you get to this game, you must have done 50 odd matches, I reckon. So I'm going to go to Stevenage away, with a following of about 1,300 away fans.
Yeah.
Right. And we've got a chance at that point to basically win and get promoted without the playoffs. Yeah. Thoughts at that point before we talk about the game?
Stevenage weren't a great side then. And I drove up to the game. Ian came with me and took up some friends from Chagford, and driving to the game, I thought, along with probably 1,300 other City fans, that we would grind out a result. We'd be in an automatic playoff spot, automatic promotion spot, and we were going to avoid the heartbreak. Season before, when Jack Stacey scored in the last kick of the game against Carlisle, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
We never ever have lost at Wembley in 2017 because we had an outstanding side that year. And Blackpool, we were better than Blackpool. Maybe not on the day, but we were better than Blackpool. So,
yeah. Can I just say, Will Amerson and Dimitri Mitchell, I hope you're listening to that. I know you're extra players now, but sorry, carry on, yeah.
And so I wanted to avoid the playoffs. I wanted to, I didn't want to go to Wembley. I didn't want playoff games. I just wanted to secure promotion. And I genuinely thought we would beat Stevenage.
And on that day, let's be really raw, open, and honest about it, yeah. Because I think there was probably a camp of very pro-Tisdale supporters.
Yeah.
There was at the point there was a slightly smaller camp of, do you know what, we've not quite done this. Maybe we need to change. But we're going with the flow, right? So we get up there. And we lose 3-1, right? And I'm going to say it was probably one of my worst experiences of football in terms of connection with fans, manager, and team, right? Yeah. And there've been some really good signs under Paul Tisdale. If you look at the balance, he took our club to a place where we're reaping some of the benefits now.
Yeah.
So we've lost 3-1. Fans are going crazy, aren't they? In a way, I don't think we need to talk about the trigger. It's widely known.
No.
We're not going to focus on negatives, but it was just a rubbish day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So I think the part that really, I was always exceptionally vocal about support or where my support lay, but I understood others' opinions and accepted them for what they were. That day, the one thing I've always loved about Exeter City, the fan base, not the club, the fan base, is the togetherness. No matter what's going on, we kind of all stick together. We're not a club with 30,000 home fans. At the time we were a club that had 4,500 fans turning up. That day at Stevenage, I saw people that I've known for years arguing with other people because they had a difference of opinion. You could see there was a very toxic atmosphere, but it wasn't the people in the way and that created it. It was an amalgamation of, in my opinion, 18 months of it. It was kind of, dare I say it and put my neck on the line. I think Paul Tisdale wanted to win every single game. No different to us fans in that respect. He doesn't want to lose a game. He didn't want to not get automatically promoted.
Of course.
He's a professional. And I think that afternoon at Stevenage, I think, dare I say it, that afternoon at Stevenage is very reminiscent of when a husband and wife have a row and it ends up getting divorced. That was the catalyst for change was needed. We all knew change was coming, but we weren't sure what. Looking back, I think that the fan base and the club recovered exceptionally well from that 90 minutes at Stevenage.
Yeah, they did.
I think that the promotional side of the club with the Grecians together, I think that was very well done. And I do think, hindsight being a wonderful thing, and I didn't want Paul Tisdale to leave. At the time, I think that he'd done all he could. It was like when a marriage comes to an end, you don't want to separate.
Do you know, it was a sad time in a way because you talk about, and we've talked about the Stevenage thing. Let's focus on a few positives at this point. We've gone on from that. Psychologically, that was a very damaging victory in terms of everybody wanted to get promoted, right? So then we go into the playoffs. We go to Lincoln, which everybody knows Lincoln was on the up at the time, right? We get a 0-0 draw, and it was on Sky. It was a great experience. We did well, and it was a bit of a turning point. Now, I know that you've got a bit of an interesting point which builds up to getting to Wembley, so we'll come back to that. So we've then gone to Exeter. We've won 3-1, right? Stockley, Boateng and Harley, and who can forget the goal from Boateng, by the way?
That was the best bit about that was as he let fly with his shot, a friend of mine from Plymouth, an Argyle fan, freeze framed it, and as he let fly with the shot, right over Boateng's right shoulder is my advertising board.
Brilliant. Really? And shameless advert for Miller's Motor Services down in Launceston, and no job too big or too small. That we will be doing advertising on this program shortly. That's another free advert for you. So, right. So, pitch invasion. We've won 3-1. We're not going to talk about a few minor little idiots at our end that I think hit the kit man that day, which was not good enough. Right? You're on the pitch, yeah?
No, I didn't. I wasn't allowed on the pitch.
You weren't allowed on the pitch. Why not?
So, about 3 days before the Lincoln game, away game, I was with at a friend's house doing a job, and I had a phone call from a withheld number, and a woman called Saskia, I believe. She said, "Hi, I'm Saskia from the EFL," and I thought she said the electricity company, EDF.
Right.
I was doing two things at once, answering the phone and working.
Hello.
He's back. And she said, "Well, I can, but I finish work in 20 minutes." And so it's like I was still doing two things at once. And she said, "I hear you're a big Exeter fan." And it's like, "Oh, yeah. She said, I want you to be Exeter's super fan in the playoffs." And so I started laughing. And I said, I don't know who you are, but whichever Plymouth fans put you up to this, when they post this video on Facebook later, I'm not biting. I'm not going to do it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, there is a reason for this. So going back a few years, when Argyle had lost to AFC Wimbledon at Wembley, at 9 a.m. the following morning, I phoned Home Park and went Facebook Live, or filmed it, put it on Facebook. I phoned Home Park and I asked them what time their open top bus parade was planned for that day.
So you did.
And the woman said that, they'd won. And so I told her that they could look forward to being smashed by us again next year. And it kind of went viral. So I thought if there is such a thing, I thought some intelligent Argyle fans were trying to get me back. So I to Saskia. And as soon as I saw the email, I'd been asked if I'd be Exeter superfan. So before the Lincoln away game, Lincoln at home, I had to be at the ground at 6:30, and I had to give an interview, and they wanted to take pictures or more pictures, but I always picked my friend Simon up in Plymouth,
right?
And there was a roadblock at Ashburton, and we were held there for about half an hour. And when we got clear of the roadblock, the slow moving traffic at Ashburton, it was like 6:15, and I knew I had to be at the ground for 6:30 to meet Saskia in the EFL.
Right.
So I'd done the only dumb thing and got to Exeter for 6:30, parked up and at the ground.
Really?
did pick up a speeding ticket between the yeah, but
Yeah.
but so when we won the game, just
Right.
minutes before the final whistle went, Saskia and the photographer and the camera crew from the EFL came over to where I was, and they told me that if we won, I wasn't allowed to go on the pitch. I had to give an interview, and they wanted to take pictures. And so I'm stood at the back of the big bank watching everyone I know. And then I hear Saskia say, right, Phil, we're going live in a couple of minutes. Please don't swear. And she said, so I'll ask you now, how are you feeling at this exact moment? Well, you can imagine the language I used because, you know, it was an emotional evening.
Was it a Steve Tully moment?
I don't know. I still get goosebumps thinking of penalty. But that game, I travelled back from Oxford that night, and I watched the whole game again before going to bed to go to work at 7 a.m. But
so you've had to do it. Let's get this right then. So you're at the back of the big bank, and you're giving an interview, right? Yeah. And that's a live one, or they're doing a pre-one for Wembley. That's a live one.
Yeah, it was a live one.
Right. Okay.
It was shown at the end of I believe it was shown at the end of the snippets of it was shown after the game, but while they were still discussing the game.
So now they've asked you to keep this a little bit secret, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Right. Because nobody knew. Right. No. So what? You're a super fan, and by the way, that year, and can I just say, and I'm not bragging, I'm going to miss 4 games home and away this season because I've tried to compete with you, right? And I know I live up country, but honestly, it's a real experience. You thoroughly deserved it. There are some painful moments. I fortunately to date haven't got a speeding ticket, so well done me. Yeah, well, there's still a few to go, and that's done on the motorway tomorrow. So you're now knowing you're going to be super fan at Wembley.
Yeah,
your normal plans aren't happening, I'm guessing, because you've got to get up there.
Yeah. So I had to, from memory, I did go to our designated pub for a quick pint with everyone, but I'd been told I couldn't tell anyone. I'd been told that I had to dress smart. I told that I was in the Bobby Moore suite for a 3-course meal. And I had to go into the ground, had to get to Wembley 3 hours before kickoff. I was told that the pictures they'd taken would be used in promotion. Nothing for turning the corner to walk down Wembley Way and seeing my ugly mug staring back on the massive screens in front of Wembley.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was a little bit of a shock for me and my family, to be honest. We were like looking up, going, "What's he doing up there?" Right? Okay, so you're on the screens. Yeah.
Yeah. I took Alex, who works for me. He's our he's a supporter from our Czech Republic supporters branch. He got a lot of games that year. So we get into Wembley, and people that know me know that I'm terrified of heights. I get vertigo on a thick carpet. And so I show them my VIP pass I've been given, and I'm told that I've got to go up. I think it was 4 stories of
escalators,
and or escalators, and I couldn't do it, and I refused. I told the Saskia from the EFL, I said I can't do it. I said my palms were sweating, and I'm being told I've got to, and it's like, do you know what? If it's going to be an issue, I'll just go and sit on out in the stands with all of my mates, and I just won't do it because So a really nice security guy said, well, we can take him through the maintenance passages inside Wembley to get him up there, I think. And so I had a tour of the inside the inner building, up dark flights of stairs, and then we had the meal, which was very nice.
Yeah.
Not the sort of food that I would consider to be a pre-match meal, because it wasn't a pint of lager and a greasy. Then we were taken out onto the pitch. And
sorry, was there anybody from the club with you?
No, I was on me.
So you've gone on the pitch, right?
Yeah, on the pitch, and our players were all out warming up, and had a load of pictures, official pictures taken with the trophy or the cup, the trophy, and we went through what I had to do, and that's a real. I'm going to call it a cup for want of a better word. That cup is really, really heavy, and the Coventry City superfan was
an older lady,
an elderly lady, and she couldn't take any of the weight. So when the videos and the B carry, I'm holding the whole thing in my right hand, and got her hand resting against it. And it was a bit surreal because obviously I spoke with Paul Tisdale or with Steve Perriman, and I spoke with the players, and it was really, it was so surreal, and a lot's been said about what was said. Now that's irrelevant. It was our cup final. Everyone at the club wanted to win that game. No two ways about it. And I won't believe otherwise. It's a shame I'm not a gambler, because before the game, I was wandering around on the pitch, chatting with the players. Every player was absolutely good as gold. Whatever I asked, they answered. They were full of smiles, handshakes, and all. But you could tell in the warm up that you could tell the players that were leaving that summer, because it just looked a little disjointed. Probably still reeling from what happened at Stevenage away, and they were still probably on a high from getting to the final. But all the players were good as gold. Steve Perriman was smiling, shook my hand. I was cheeky, but that's me all over. And then in the tunnel with the players, and I've not, Alex saw it, but I've not told anyone else ever, because it's never really been something I wanted to talk about because of the outcome that day. But no one associated with Exeter will ever have seen the way that Paul Tisdale and Steve Perriman were with those group of players in the tunnel. And there was a huge amount of love and respect there all round. Before the game, that it was an emotional occasion. I think everyone in the tunnel knew that it was the last time it was going to happen. And
sorry, I'm going to help you a little bit here, because I wanted to let you talk and hear you say, and like you say, there have been some stories and things about what was said, and for whatever reason it's disjointed. And if we look at the obviously we lost the game, we lost the game, right? It is. And by the way, there were 2 great goals from Coventry that day. Tactically, we probably could have done it better. The player that scored our goal probably should have been on the pitch earlier. It is what it is, right? On that, so there was a bit of fallout, right? I think it was, I'm going to say it for you. I think the contract decision, which wasn't a decision to say goodbye, shall we say, at the time of Paul, our manager at the time. Now, I know that there was the trust motion, which is an extremely difficult thing. And this is going to be a little bit cathartic for me, because I know that quite a few people think that I was actually involved with that motion, and it was nothing to do with me. Right? I believe it was a gentleman called Doug Gillard that put it through. But Doug, if I got that wrong, please, I do a formal apology on here, because things get lost in time. So Paul's a little bit upset, because we've for commercial financial reasons, right? And I'm also going to say a positive now, because I was talking to a player. I'm going to keep it quiet about him, and he said some really nice positive things about Paul, about how he approached it and how he changed our mindsets, how we had specialist coaches, etc. Yeah, and it is what it is, right? Paul is no longer with us. I hope at some time that, from a cathartic perspective, that he'd come back and see where we are now, because I think you've said really nicely the togetherness that we've learnt, right, after, I think, Stevenage is helping us right to this day.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you agree?
Yeah. No, without doubt. So in the tunnel, and I was sent a video of me filmed off the telly carrying that trophy out. Moments before we left that tunnel, Paul Tisdale went down every single player, gave them a cuddle, wished them luck, and as I picked the trophy up, he was full of encouragement to the team. Aside of him, apart from his celebration when Jack Stacey scored against Carlisle, I'd never ever seen his emotion like that, and he wanted to win that game. Do you know what I mean?
Of course you do.
But it was so I was given by the EFL a signed Exeter shirt, home shirt, of all the players that were playing that day, and I was given a signed football. And Saskia brought that over to me seconds after Coventry went 1-0 up, and what had been said on the pitch, which has been done to death, not going to go into that. That was still ringing in my head. So I've got the what I'd heard on the pitch, and then what I saw in the tunnel, and it was full of mixed emotions. We were 1-0 down.
You were a bit of a mess, weren't you?
I've seen at the end of the video of me carrying the trophy out, and people have said to me that I asked what it felt like. I can't put it into words. From 5 years old, I've wanted to run out on St James Park. To lead Exeter out at Wembley was something that I'll never ever forget. I wish it was in better circumstances. Full of emotion. Unfortunately, not the right result.
Yeah.
Moving on from that, I think the work that Paul Tisdale done, we're reaping the benefits now.
Of course we are. And it's been built on.
Yeah.
And that's why I pointed out the crowds, because and I think it's partly to do with other combination of things like the junior Grecians. I mean, we're getting 6,500, 7,000 for I'm going to say a less than attractive football match at the moment. Definitely. Without mentioning clubs, I don't think that's necessary.
I think now's
sorry, go on.
I think now's a good time to say that we sold out tickets, the general sale tickets for Argyle within 2 hours. Now that's incredible, and I know Argyle is an attractive fixture. Looking at when the tickets went on sale, looking at our fixtures, our remaining 8 fixtures, and 6 of them are against teams in the top 7 or 8, I believe. That's to sell out. And at the time, it would be perfectly plausible to think that Plymouth might secure an automatic place at our ground. There's a lot of belief around the club, and it's an outstanding place to be. What is it, 5, 6 sellouts this season already? That's incredible.
God. Yeah, it's incredible. And do you know what? You've set out a nice challenge, and for any Exeter fan, listen to this. Here's a challenge, right? Let's go for our best ever position. The opportunity to do it is on, right?
Yeah.
We have shown on our day that we can mix it with what I call the millionaire clubs, who've got a lot more money than us, right? Yeah. But and Gary Caldwell, I listened to him today pre-Fleetwood, and he is talking about season tickets and positivity and all that sort of stuff, and that togetherness he talked about, and sometimes you have to look back and see how far you've come. And
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Let's try and get a result,
So it would be easy to sit here and go, do you know what? So long as we beat Plymouth, I don't care about the remaining 7 games, so long as Argyle don't go up. It's not about Argyle. This is about Exeter City. And as much as we all love to beat Plymouth home and away, whatever, it's nothing about them. They can go off, do whatever they want. I don't care about them. What I care about is
I agree. And we've got to break our ceiling now, because everybody talks about the glass ceiling. Our glass ceiling is ready to be smashed in.
Yeah.
Let's put 2 feet through that front door. So, sorry, go on.
I mean, we're finished 17th. We're not a big club by any stretch of the imagination, and we're in League One because we've got the right ethos around the club, and we're doing it in the right way. We're not a club that has millions of pounds pumped into it to sustain it. A club that are very open and honest. And Tuesday night watching us beat Barnsley, I've seen Barnsley in the Premiership. They are a massive club compared to us.
They're a good team.
And they're on the back of 12 games without defeat, and we should be really proud of what we're achieving.
And do you know what? We are making that fortress feeling where people look at the fixture and go, God, it's a long run down to Exeter. And they're going to be there waiting for us, in the nicest way.
Yeah.
So long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be at Fleetwood. I was meant to be going, but things outside have changed the plans somewhat. But I'll be listening to the game without a shadow of a doubt. I see no reason why the players that Gary has brought in, if we can keep Jay Stansfield next season, if we could have him back for another year.
6 months at least.
Yeah, he is quality. And I've watched his reaction to scoring in front of the bank last Saturday probably 200 times. And but for a young man with everything, everything on his shoulders, he's as much part of Exeter City as the big bank is. Hopefully we can get him back next season, and we've got a really good group of players, and no reason I can't go again next year and maybe, just maybe, finish a little bit higher than our best ever finish.
Yeah, and talking about finish, we've got about 10 minutes, right? So, and I think we've gone from a difficult thing to a positive thing really nicely, and I'm pleased about that personally. Right, a few little short questions, really quick answer. Favorite services on the motorway?
Sorry, I missed that. What was that?
Favorite services on the motorway?
Strensham.
Cheapest place to get petrol on the motorway up the M5? Do you know?
No, because I just use my business fuel card. And
you use a business fuel card, don't you? If Exeter fans haven't worked it out, there's a secret service station at Junction 2 of the M5. If you come off to the right, because I'm working in the area, there's an Asda store. It's dead cheap, right? So a load of you go up that way. Please just save yourself a bit of money.
And just for my own protection moving forward, if HMRC are listening to this, I don't claim back diesel used for away travel.
Yes, of course.
Disclaimer.
Yes. For obvious reasons. Thank you for protecting yourself. Favourite pub at away ground or away ground to go to?
I like the bar at Tranmere that we go into.
Yes.
Directly opposite the ground. I like that one. I also, and I can't remember the name of it, Ian will, there is a pub in Portsmouth that we've been into a lot of times. I won a house in there in a pub bet.
Right.
Kevin Shilston, I expect the deeds to arrive anytime soon. Less said about that.
Pay up, Kev.
And there's also quite a few really good pubs in Blackpool, which we use for Fleetwood, Morecambe, Blackpool, obviously. The Manchester's a pretty decent pub in Blackpool.
Right.
Yeah.
A final question. On your marathon season, how many miles do you think you travelled? Did you work it out?
Not to the. I worked it out very roughly because obviously for home games I was doing 95 miles for a home game going via Plymouth every game, and for away games I was doing 80 miles more than travelling from Exeter. I think I've done about 10,000 miles watching Exeter.
I'm gonna trump that because I think you're wrong, right? Because ex-directory years, that one of the guys worked out the mileages, and I think it's like 11,600 miles to Colchester for the season in question. I would bet, Mr. Miller, that you probably did closer to 15 to 16,000 miles on your little Odyssey. Right? And if anybody wants to work it out, right, I will happily pay for 2 tickets to hospitality at Exeter City if somebody really wants to do it, right? Obviously, that'll be from me and not my business because that would be wrong. Look, Mr. Miller, proper City fan. We haven't spoken about your motorsport. He's as big on motorsport as he is on football. Can I just say, right? If anybody heard people, noises like what was like blowing your nose or horns, right? That was actually the air guns in his garage and horns going up on the MET testing station. Yeah. So we are authentic. Phil, you're a legend. You know that.
Thank you.
I'll see you at our game soon. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Anytime. Cheers.
Hi, Al Yates again. I hope you enjoyed Phil Miller. What a character. And can I just say, as somebody who's managed his all-time record this season, which is around 40 matches as it stands. I need to do a count, and probably will go up to 42 with planning the next 2 games to get to over 60 games following Exeter, including pre-season friendlies. Is an amazing feat, and I can tell you now that's a lot of motorway services. So Phil, well done for coming on, and a really good insight into another side of the playoff final, and EFL Exeter Fan of the Year, I believe. And I didn't realise that he suffered from a fear of heights like myself. So well done him, and a good view on where we are in terms of management, etc. at the moment from him. Good to hear what he had to say. Right, next things up, we've got another trust coming up, which will be interesting. We've got an interview with a member of the Exeter Club history coming up, and not forgetting we're getting close to the end of the season now. We've got the Quat Pods awards, which we'll be announcing shortly, and we'll be doing a show on, and also we'll be doing an end of season review from a fan's view. So keep on listening. Thank you for doing the downloads. Don't forget, like, share, and if you get a chance, have a little look at the podcast that was done with Sheffield Wednesday as the preview of the last game, and keep enjoying the show. Cheers, take care.